Hey, so we're scientists. We're looking at your 8.5 note section, the relative age of rocks. So we're looking at how you can determine the age of fossils and the sedimentary rock that they would be contained in. So the term relative age just refers to the age of rocks or fossils compared to the age of rocks that you know the absolute age of. So for example, igneous rocks. You can determine the age of igneous rocks because you know when they form, when a volcano has erupted, or when magma has been released from underground. So if you know that particular date, if you know that particular amount of millions of years ago, then anything that's around it can be compared to it. So you know how old igneous rocks are. You know how old obsidian is, how old pumice is. So that's what scientists can determine based on radioactive dating and determining the age of those rocks based on the chemical composition and the isotopes that they may contain. So how can scientists determine how old sedimentary rocks are? Sedimentary rocks are a problem because it's made of lots of different sediment. It may have organic matter, it may have once living organisms in it, it may have fossils, plant material, animal material, shells, it could have sand, mud, all kinds of different things deposited in order to form that stratigraphy and that sedimentary rock formation. So how do you determine how old this rock is that has crinoid stems? How do you determine how old these leaves are? How do you determine how old all these pebbles are, which could possibly be from different locations? So that's what we're looking at, how to find out that relative age. So in order to determine the relative age, scientists are going to need to look at igneous rocks. So if you have determined the absolute age of magma or lava that has hardened into an igneous rock, then you can use that information to help determine the relative age of any rock layers, sedimentary rock layers, or fossils that may be contained in those sedimentary rock layers. So scientists are going to look at extrusions and intrusions. Remember, those are referring to igneous rock formations. X refers to outside and in refers to inside. And that can help them to comparatively see how old a particular sedimentary rock layer or fossil may be. So in determining relative age, the extrusion, when it is formed, that magma is going to get deposited on the outside. So as the magma comes up to the surface, erupts from the volcano, it becomes what we refer to as lava since it's on the outside. It's going to end up cooling down. So you have this red hot molten material, cools down, turns into this black rock. So scientists can determine the age of that since it was released from the volcano and it has specific chemical composition. So then intrusions can also be used since intrusions are made of lava, they're made of igneous rock as well. So in this example, here's the intrusion. So this intrusion, if you find out the absolute age of that particular rock layer through radioactive or radiocarbon dating, then scientists can compare it to the age of this sediment that's around it. And you know this is a sedimentary rock layer because of all these horizontal lines. So if you know the age of this lava, if you know the age of that intrusion, the absolute age of it, then you can compare that to the rock around it because all that rock had to be there first in order for that lava to get pushed up, to be forced by pressure into that rock. Because that lava is not going to just jump up out of the ground and just stand there horizontally. Gravity's going to pull it down if that were to happen. So this rock had to be there first. That rock is going to be older than intrusion. So intrusion is always going to be younger than the rock that it cuts through. So faults can also be used. San Andreas faults, what you have pictured here, that may be one that you're familiar with, especially if you've seen the movie San Andreas. So a fault is just a fracture, a break in Earth's crust and Earth's surface. And a fault line's usually where you have a lot of earthquakes, a lot of energy that is released from the Earth fracturing. And this one is pretty big. It's going to get larger over time as well. So faults can be used to determine the age of relative material as well. So in order to determine relative age, geologists, scientists are going to study extrusions, intrusions of igneous rock, faults, and gaps in the geologic record, which is called an unconformity. Scientists also study index fossils as well, which we'll get to in just a minute. So here's another picture of an intrusion. So is this intrusion older or younger than the sedimentary rock around it? That's exactly right. This intrusion is going to be younger than the rock around it. The sedimentary rock is going to be older because it was there first. And this fault line, so you can see that there's kind of a fracture. Those rock layers are not aligning. So this here was once aligned with this section. And this white layer here was once aligned with this. So you can see that that rock layer has shifted. So all of this sediment had to have been deposited first before that fault occurred, before that break in Earth's surface. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the horizontal rock deposition of that sedimentary rock. So the law of superposition is another way that scientists can determine the relative age of rocks. So this is a picture of the Grand Canyon. This is probably one of the best examples of sedimentary rock formation utilizing the law of superposition. So superposition is a big word, but it means a really simple concept. So this just says that in horizontal sedimentary rock layers, when you have these horizontally deposited sediments, the oldest rocks are on the bottom, the youngest rocks are at the top. So it's like if you are making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you're going to sit down a piece of bread and then you put some peanut butter on it. You may put some jelly. You may have the bread on top. You may put some other stuff. I don't know. So you're going to have the bread that was set down on your table first, and then you had the peanut butter next, and then you had the jelly next, and then you had the next piece of bread. Unless you put something weird like bananas in it. So in this example of the Grand Canyon, the Supai sandstone is the oldest. It's 285 million years old. It was the first layer in this example that was deposited. The youngest rock layers here at the top is the Kaibab limestone. It's 250 million years old. So if we didn't have these time indicators out beside of it, we still would be able to tell how old those rock layers were approximately, because we would know the Supai sandstone, since it's at the bottom, it's the oldest. So oldest layer at the bottom, youngest layer at the top. And that is going to be for sedimentary rock layers that have not been overturned or have not had anything that has happened to them, that are just in the original form of deposition. So an unconformity, this is a gap in the geologic record. An unconformity is going to occur where you have erosion take place. So erosion is going to be what causes the unconformity. So erosion is going to wear away layers of sedimentary rock, and then new sediment will form on top of it, forming new sedimentary rock layers. So in this example, we have some nice stratigraphy of sedimentary rock formation. You know it's sedimentary rock because you have those layers. So then the unconformity is going to begin occurring when you have some kind of uplift in the rock layers. So they were deposited horizontally, and then you had maybe like an earthquake or something that caused some uplift, that caused it to kind of start moving upward. And this is going to be gradual over a long period of time. And then erosion takes place. So you could have a flood, you could have a lot of wind, like a big windstorm. So something wears away this surface. So now instead of those nice horizontal lines, we have some kind of funny shapes like curved lines and some weird jagged thing at the top, because basically all that has been eroded. So you could have like the best T-Rex fossil ever up here in one of these rock layers. You would never know if it got eroded. So if you had like a big flood and all that kind of got washed away, then it's just gone forever. So then what happens for the unconformity is that you have newly deposited material that gets deposited at this jagged area where erosion has occurred. So you have really old material that's been eroded that has new material get deposited on top of it. So really old material comes in contact with really newly formed material. And here's an example of an unconformity, just so you can kind of see what that may look like in real life. And just to give you some idea of scale, there's a person standing right here. So this is the uplift area, and this is where it's been eroded. And this one, you can definitely see that there's been new deposition that's taken place on top. And you can see where this would have kind of arched upward, but it's been eroded, so you don't have any of that information, any of that geologic information anymore. Index fossils are another thing that's used to help determine relative age. So there's a couple different things that are frequently used as index fossils: trilobites, brachiopods, ammonites, like this beautiful picture. So index fossils are organisms that have, of course, been fossilized, but they were widely distributed, which means they lived over a wide area that can be found in a lot of cases, multiple continents or worldwide, and they lived a short time. Now, short time is going to be narrowed down to like a specific era or a period in geologic time. So short time geologically, maybe a couple million years. So here's an example of how you may see law of superposition on your EOG. So index fossils, since we know that they were widely distributed, they lived a short amount of time, they're useful because they can help you to determine the relative age of rocks. So for example, we have a brachiopod right here. So we have a brachiopod over here. So we know that those two rock layers must be about the same age because brachiopods went extinct and were no longer living after this particular time period. Same thing with trilobites down here. Trilobites went extinct, unfortunately. I love trilobites. They lived during the Paleozoic era. So trilobite, 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 trilobite. So that tells us all four of those rock layers have to be about the same age because they have trilobites in them. And trilobites went extinct after the Paleozoic. You don't see trilobites in any of these other rock layers. Also, you've got some missing information here. So what may have caused you to not have layer A, B, C, and D at all for these locations? Probably erosion, right? I mean, it's likely that they didn't get deposited, but based on the formation that you see here and the shape of those rock layers, probably they got eroded. Specifically at this layer where it has layer A and then it skips to C. So basically you have this whole layer B that's missing from this area, and then you had new layer C that was deposited on top of that. So here's another example. So index fossils can be used to help scientists match with those rock layers like we were just looking at. So we have this layer and this one that are similar color. They have similar fossils in them, brachiopods, shells, ammonites, fish fossils. We've got an extrusion, so that tells us that that volcanic eruption happened over both of those areas. So those site 1 and site 2 are potentially in the same location. You only have an intrusion right here, so that means there must have been a fracture in that rock for that to have been forced up into. And then we have dinosaur footprints here, dinosaur footprints here. So that tells us, since you have dinosaur footprints in both of those locations, that both of those rock layers, Y and D, had to be Mesozoic because dinosaurs went extinct about 65 million years ago. Now you have a little law of superposition review in your lab notebook on page 10. So if you'll review through that, and you have some information here that's provided to help you in color coding this example. So that will help you in learning more about the law of superposition and reviewing this information. So one thing that you have here, it says gabbro dike. What that is an igneous intrusion. So just so that you know what that is, because that's a term that we have not used specifically. And then you have your other sedimentary rock layers that have been deposited around it. So make sure you look at that and answer the questions and do the color coding. Thanks, guys.